Good afternoon, Caroline and Michelle. Great to see you guys. We're talking about imposter syndrome today. So a really interesting topic, because some people may have been experiencing these feelings and not realize that there's actually a nice label attached to it. And what does that feel like? What does it cause us to do? And how does that come up for us as property investors? I guess. What do you guys think?
Well, I think the imposter syndrome label is when you are thinking or saying or portraying yourself in a certain way, but deep down you're thinking, am I really good enough to be saying or doing all this stuff?
Yeah.
Is it a comparing yourself to others? Is it a feeling of being good enough or worthy?
So most people are moving into this from another industry or from another skill set or whatever it might be. So for a lot of people, they are having to sort of, to a certain extent, throw themselves into the deep end, into a new area, new industry. And I think, therefore, that feeling of, am I a little bit out of my depth here? I'm just waiting for people to jump on the fact that I've not been doing this for very long, or I'm calling myself a property investor, but I haven't actually got a deal yet. All these sorts of, concerns kind of come up.
Yeah, we've all been there. And it's not just in property, right? It's on many, many levels. I'm sure everyone has their job. When they first, they've bagged themselves the job that they're looking for, and then day 1, day 2, day 3, they're having to demonstrate that they are as good as, the hirers, the people who've hired them are. So in any industry, any walks of life, anything that you're doing, there will be an element of this imposter syndrome that will come in.
It can attack at any time. I think the interesting thing about imposter syndrome is it can be the situation that you're maybe the only person that sees it as well. You're probably always going to have an element of it, because again, as you're always like growing and circling, in different circles, meeting new people or progressing through your career, if you're always moving up, you're probably always going to get to a point where you're a bit like, oh gosh, like, how did I get here? Is it really me? Should I be here?
Just any second now, they're going to ask me something about my strategy or something about the market, and I'm really going to struggle with it, and it's going to make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I think that's a nerve-wracking point, right, for most people's journey, is just the confidence to just walk into a letting agent or an estate agent and just get chatting to them and talk to them about your strategy.
And if you're asked any questions that you don't have the answer to, that's okay.
Yeah,
you know someone that will know the answer to it. And so it's okay to show a bit of vulnerability and say, oh, actually, I'll get back to you on that one. I've not had that one asked to me before, and I'll come back to you. Having the confidence to deal with any curveball, even if you don't have all the answers.
And that can be relevant when you're looking to scale up, and move to a different strategy. How do I finance a commercial to residential development? Well, I don't know, but I know someone who knows.
I think social media has made imposter syndrome a million times worse, because you can see what everyone else is doing and you automatically compare yourself. So the comparing, I don't think that imposter syndrome was as prolific pre-social media, because you weren't as aware of what everyone else was doing. You just knew that you had to better yourself. And as long as you were better today than you were growing further on today than you were yesterday, that was progress, right? But social media has amplified it to another level,
because you can get carried away when you're looking at everybody else and what they're doing and seeing the bling or seeing this or that, and you're like, well, I don't drive a Ferrari yet, so what am I doing wrong? And it's like, but what did you set out to do? What was your initial goal? Why did you even start this in the first place? And if you're on the path, no matter how long or quickly it goes, then just set your moral compass and just continue on.
And yet the three of us all know that this is a daily reality. Yes, you get better at it, yes, you get more confidence, but we can all relate to feeling it at some point, and we will all go through that again, because like I said, when you scale up or you look to move to a different area or whatever it might be, you're always then potentially fronting up to that feeling of being out of your depth a little bit, and having to fake it till you make it to a certain extent, while you sort of build up that credibility in the background. When you're a confident individual and you're confident in your arena and you've got experience in that arena, I think we're more likely to attribute success and failure internally. So like, we will credit ourselves. So there's that thing, isn't there, about you're so lucky to be, and in reality, people don't appreciate the hours of slog and sacrifice that have got you to that point. But to the outside world, it might look like you're lucky. That's attributing your success to external reasons. Whereas we'd be more likely to look at it internally and go, well, actually, no, I know what went into that. I know the hours that have been put into that. But people who suffer from imposter syndrome might, actually, I was pretty lucky to get that deal. I don't know how I'll get one like that again, or whatever it might be. Or, God, it's lucky that conversation went well with the agent.
So, if you've got that estate agent that tries to make you feel uncomfortable, because there will be, people that are just like, oh, another property investor, and people will try to catch you out, or people will try to put certain things down, or, I think that's, especially in property, I've never known an industry where there's so much, there's so much judgment based on like what you've done, or like one of the first questions you'll get asked is like, how many properties you've got? And it's like, what do these things actually matter? And it's like, but then it's those little funny things that start to get you into this vicious cycle of thinking about, well, am I good enough? I've not yet got that £1 million whatever, and then you all of a sudden start to feel like you've maybe not necessarily, or you're not achieving as much as you should, because you're not way up there at the top. Like, listen to constructive stuff, because there will be people who will tell you stuff that's quite hard to hear because they want you to do better, but don't listen to noise around
so
you.
Is staying close to the fire a big part of this then, do you think?
Totally.
In terms of like, stay in your own lane, but equally be very conscious of who you surround yourself with, because property can be a lonely game, and I think that's where potentially when you're left alone with your imposter syndrome, one of the ways around that would be just surround yourself with other people that think like you do, that want the same things that you do, and that in a sense is going to help you feel part of a community, if that makes sense.
If you're having a potential conversation with your very first potential angel investor, and that angel investor has never done this before, you've never done it before, that can be an environment where I can imagine they'll ask you something that you're maybe not equipped for. With the angel investor, if they ask you a question that you can't answer, don't try and fly. You cannot fake that till you make it. Do not. Because when money's involved, we have to be really upfront about it. So if you amplify, the fear of losing money is a big one, and then the fear of losing someone else's money is like, then I can imagine that initial conversation will be super stressy.
Yeah.
Internally, particularly if they haven't done it before.
Yeah.
You've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and challenge yourself in those areas. Otherwise, it becomes this big block in your head that you're going to really have an issue with. And so I think you're right, sort of tackling that head on, as uncomfortable, as painful as that going to be. You're only going to gain confidence from that experience. And the more you do it and the more times it just becomes normal. Totally. It's not an exceptional thing for you to do anymore, to go in and just randomly walk up to an estate agent and start talking to them about the housing market. It just becomes normal. It just trips off the tongue because it becomes, I guess, part of your identity, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Massively say if it's a person-to-person experience that is what you're scared of being an imposter about, do it with a massive smile on your face. The bigger the smile, the less likely they're going to be mean to you. As human beings, you have to be a real a-hole to be mean to someone's face, right? I mean, there's people out there that would do it. But if you've got a massive smile on your face and you're warm and giving off really positive energy, you can see any old pile of crap and they'll still like you. So it doesn't matter. Just do it, but with a big smile on your face, and you'll feel differently about it as well.
Yeah, 100%.